Are you unaware of the globe's claim of Coriolis?
It's an optical
Are you
illusion.
not aware of it?
It's an optical illusion. It's nothing to do with the trajectory and everything to do with the not actual trajectory. An illusion of a trajectory that doesn't actually occur. And it occurs because you're turning beneath stuff if you're observing Coriolis effect. That'd be you turning beneath things not attached to a roundabout and seeing them seem to curve. That would also be effect that we'd see on Earth if Earth was turning. And I would suggest that me pointing out it doesn't have on Earth would obviously require you talking straight through the middle of me. We don't see that effect on Earth. That would be us observing drift from the ground as things seem to drift as we turn beneath them. That doesn't happen.
Which is different than when I lift off in a drone and keep it stationary to the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, because it's not drifting. Yes, very different. One exhibits drift. That would be a roundabout. The other doesn't exhibit drift. That would be Earth.
It's already doing 1,000 miles an hour because...
So no drift then? So we're not going to experience any Coriolis drift? So the ball that left Neil deGrasse Tyson's example was already doing 1,000 miles an hour if it was on the equator? So why is Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that Earth's rotating under footballs if they're already doing 1,000 miles an hour when they leave the ground? That makes Neil deGrasse Tyson's example wrong. He's saying they drift. Balls drift, Earth turn beneath them. You're saying it retains it. You're just an idiot, because that wouldn't give you Coriolis effect. So no Coriolis effect then.
The ball is changing location. The drone is not.
What's that got to do with you observing it drift? You keep detailing what the drone does when I've explained to you 6 times that Coriolis is observed from the ground as you turn beneath. It's you looking at something seem to drift from a roundabout.
I thought the drone was in the 747. That changed location.
This is all getting really nonsensical. Yeah, laugh it up. Hot air balloons don't deviate, and they don't have any mechanism to correct for the supposed deviation, right? So the hot air balloons out there, they're not drifting.
Can I fly a drone in a...
Sorry, you just ignore my question. So according to you, the GPS system keeps it in line with the Earth's rotation. Therefore, it can fly 1,000 miles an hour to keep up with Earth rotation on the equator. A drone can move 1,000 miles an hour to keep up, can it?
I can fly a drone in a 747 and it goes 500 miles an hour.
So now we've got the drone in a 747? Sorry, all we were doing was launching a drone off the ground. You said it'll track with Earth rotation. That means it must track at the equator 1,000 miles an hour. Can drones fly 1,000 miles an hour?
They can if they're being carried by something.
Oh, right. So now this example of you launching a drone off a roundabout's actually a 747 taking off a roundabout, is it? Are you ever going to make your claim? Are you just going to repeat the same periphery 7 times more? Or are you actually going to ever make a claim at the end of it?
I'm just saying it's an observed phenomenon.
You think that's an observed phenomenon, you dumb shit?
Yeah, what is the explanation
you
for the
dumb
phenomenon?
Shit. You think that's an observed phenomena?
What, that I start a gyroscope spinning and I hold its orientation to the surface of the Earth solid, and then the gyroscope starts to precess?
A man-made device.
It's also not true. Regular mechanical gyroscopes don't do that. Only ring laser gyroscopes do that. Sorry.
How does a gyrotheodolite work?
Why are you asking us? Why are you asking us? You yet to lay down what causes this in your claim, so we can rip it to shreds. So far, it's just a load of periphery that doesn't prove anything. You haven't actually laid down a claim. Something's spinning. Oh, wow, what a wonderful proof of nothing. Because you're yet to make a claim.
So the Earth is rotating.
So the Earth's rotating to cause this as a second reference frame. Oh, that would shorten flight times. If Earth was turning as a non-inertial spinning reference frame, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles would only take an hour and a half because Earth would be turning underneath it. That second reference frame would cause Coriolis deflection. That was the very first rebuttal I gave you.
Let's go to the...
Maybe let's ignore the rebuttal. Yeah, let's just ignore the rebuttal completely and move on.
I'm not ignoring the rebuttal.
Well, maybe acknowledge it. If Earth was turning underneath the claim cause you've just laid out after 7 attempts to go through the periphery without making the claim, now you've actually made the claim. So it's Earth rotation that's causing this deflection in a gyro, according to you. Well, that would mean we've got 2 reference frames and flight times would be reduced. Third time I've put my rebuttal to you.
If you'll follow me through, I will rebut.
I did follow you through. I listened to you 7 times. I listened to you fail to make a claim, and when you did, I shot you in the face.
We put a drone on a roundabout. We lift the drone up off the roundabout. Now, the drone is hovering in space relative to the surface of the Earth, not relative to the roundabout.
Why have you introduced a 3rd reference frame of the Earth when you were using a roundabout? So we've got 2 reference frames, right? A roundabout and a drone. If I'm watching the drone from a roundabout and I launch the drone, it will appear to take a curved path after it leaves the roundabout because I continue to turn underneath it. That's Coriolis effect.
The drone, when it leaves the surface of the rotating roundabout,
will seem to drift because you turn beneath it. Yes, that's what I just said.
Which is different than when I lift off in a drone and keep it stationary to the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, because it's not drifting. Yes, very different. One exhibits drift. That would be a roundabout. The other doesn't exhibit drift. That would be Earth. But Earth's claimed to have Coriolis drift at 15 degrees an hour. And as you rightly point out, that doesn't happen when you launch a drone off Earth, but does happen when you launch one off a roundabout. So no drift on Earth then, like you'd get on a roundabout. Very different things, right? No drift from Earth, no Coriolis from Earth, drift, Coriolis from a turning roundabout.
If I lift off a drone...
So don't acknowledge what I've said, just make the claim again, maybe another 7 times. So if we launch a drone from a roundabout, it will drift. That's Coriolis. If we launch a drone from Earth, it doesn't drift. No Coriolis. So Earth does not exhibit Coriolis as it is claimed to do. Earth turn debunked. No drift to observe. Shout out to Retro Bill. He says, your dishonest guest claims to have never heard the show, yet continues to make constant show references demonstrating that he does in fact listen. Maybe.
May I finish? May I finish?
What you did, you claimed that we'll see drift if you launch a drone from a roundabout, but we don't exhibit that on Earth. That's a very different effect, you said.
That's not what I claimed. Let me...
Yeah, I heard what you claimed. It was recorded and broadcast live. You claimed drone on roundabout. That will drift. Drone on Earth, very different effect, you said. Yeah, because there's no drift. You just didn't actually acknowledge my response.
When you lift the drone off the roundabout...
It will drift from the roundabout's perspective because you're turning beneath it. That doesn't happen on Earth.
Have I been able to finish a sentence?
Bro.
Maybe if you acknowledge one thing I say ever, I won't need to constantly parrot it through the top of you repeating the same thing over and over again. That's if you launch a drone off a roundabout, it'll drift. That's Coriolis effect. Observed as you turn beneath. Earth's claim to have that effect, and we don't see it. That's the end of the argument.
When you lift a drone off a roundabout, it will not drift.
So you think drones track with roundabouts moving beneath them, do you?
When you lift the...
Yo, fuckwit! You think you launch a drone off a roundabout and it carries on moving with the roundabout, do you?
Listen to me, please.
Suck my balls, fundy fuckwit! You've just stated that a roundabout and a drone, you launch the drone and it doesn't drift from the roundabout's position. No, it does, because it's not attached anymore. You're just thick, you don't understand Coriolis. If you think a drone won't drift when it launches from a roundabout, then you're an idiot and don't understand Coriolis.
Lift a drone off a roundabout and observe it carefully with a slow motion camera, and here's what you will see.
From a roundabout, you'll see it deflect at whatever rate the roundabout turns, because it's going up and you're turning underneath. So it looks like it moves because you're turning beneath. That's what you'll film.
As the drone lifts off the roundabout, the moment before the skids leave the drone, it is moving at the same speed that the roundabout is moving.
Yeah, because it's fucking attached to it.
Correct.
Yeah, and then when it leaves, it drifts. Then when it leaves, it drifts.
The moment that the skids leave the surface of the roundabout,
it appears to drift from the roundabout.
The drone will tip slightly to show that it is accelerating, to show that it is changing its rate of motion, and it will go into a hover.
Who cares? Coriolis is described from the vantage point of the person on the roundabout. Why are you describing what the drone does?
Because in order to hover stationary...
Sorry, did you not just listen to what I just said? Coriolis is described from the non-inertial turning reference frame, not from the drone.
I think he's talking about the damn gyroscope again.
Drones that launch from roundabouts seem to drift. Do you disagree with that?
Watch a drone...
You seem to ask me a question when I ask you a question. Drones appear to drift from roundabouts after they launch. Agree or disagree?
I agree, but there's...
Excellent. Drones appear to drift when they leave a claim to be turning Earth. Agree or disagree?
You're skipping past a very...
I'm not. I'm asking for a comparison that's exactly the same according to the claim. According to the claim of Earth turn, there's going to be Coriolis effect. What's Coriolis effect? You watching a drone seem to drift from a roundabout. That's Coriolis. So we'll see a drone drifting from Earth when it leaves Earth then, won't we?
No, we won't.
So then there's no Coriolis deflection then. So Earth turn debunked. No Coriolis drift to observe then.
There's a difference.
No, there's not. One is claimed to have Coriolis effect. That's Earth, and it doesn't. You've just said we won't see this effect that Earth's claimed to have. That would be Coriolis drift. You launch a drone off Earth, nothing happens. No Coriolis effect. Well, Earth's claimed to have Coriolis effect. You've proved it doesn't.
You are not letting me explain something that I need to explain. You're not letting me explain something.
Maybe if you say that I'm not letting you explain it 5 times in a row, rather than actually contradicting something that I've said, that's that if you take off from a roundabout, the drone will seem to drift as you turn beneath it, and that is the very claim that Earth has. Earth's claim to exhibit Coriolis deflection. That would be things leaving it and you watching them seem to drift. That doesn't happen, you've just made that clear.
When the drone lifts off the roundabout, the moment that the skids leave the roundabout, the drone will accelerate. The drone will tip on its side slightly, showing that it is changing its velocity. When you lift off the Earth...
Sorry, when you lift off the Earth, there's nothing to do with Coriolis effect, because it's you observing things as you turn beneath. 3rd time I've said it. Just keep ignoring it. That's not Coriolis effect.
You are ignoring what I'm trying to say.
You're describing the projectile. Chocolate, can you stop rumpusing this conversation, please? Coriolis is observed from the non-inertial... Coriolis is observed from the non-inertial turning reference frame. That's how it's observed. You keep detailing what the drone does. Earth's claim to have Coriolis deflection. That will be described from the ground, not from the drone. Either you accept this, or we can't move on.
I'm saying that the takeoff sequence of the drone...
So ignore me and carry on detailing the drone. Yep, the drone has nothing to do with Coriolis effect. It's everything to do with you observing it from a turning reference frame. 3rd time.
When the drone lifts off the roundabout, it has a tangential velocity equal to the speed of the roundabout.
Absolutely nothing to do with Coriolis effect. 4th time I've told you.
I'm not talking about Coriolis effect.
Globe claims to have it.
You are not.
No. Why are you telling me that I'm claiming this? I'm not a globe-believing fuckwit. Who is doing that from G+? Every single sentence so far has been interrupted by G+. Sick of it. No. The globe claims to have a Coriolis deflection. That's 2 reference frames, precisely as your claim hinges around. So, if we're talking Coriolis effect, which is 2 reference frames, and drift, then you're going to be describing that from the turning reference frame, not from the drone. Was that 4th time?
If I move the camera on a pole and I mount a camera on a drone.
Then you're not describing Coriolis effect. Fifth time. Fifth time. Fifth time is just dumb. It's decided that no matter what happens, he is going to describe this from the drone. That's not deflection. That's not Coriolis effect.
And I cause the drone to remain stationary. Does a drone... How does a drone, when you...
Why are you asking me something? Your claim. Your claim. Don't ask me. Your claim.
A drone, when it launches, uses GPS signals to keep itself in the same place relative to the surface of the Earth. If there's
I see. So because of its GPS, it can keep up with 1,000 miles an hour on the equator?
Can I fly a drone in a...
Sorry, you just ignore my question. So according to you, the GPS system keeps it in line with the Earth's rotation. Therefore, it can fly 1,000 miles an hour to keep up with Earth rotation on the equator. A drone can move 1,000 miles an hour to keep up, can it?
I can fly a drone in a 747 and it goes 500 miles an hour.
So now we've got the drone in a 747? Sorry, all we were doing was launching a drone off the ground. You said it'll track with Earth rotation. That means it must track at the equator 1,000 miles an hour. Can drones fly 1,000 miles an hour?
They can if they're being carried by something.
Oh, right. So now this example of you launching a drone off a roundabout's actually a 747 fucking taking off a roundabout, is it? You fucking clown. Just because you're being pummeled doesn't mean you need to introduce a 747. Yeah, so Earth claims we'll see deflection from the ground as a drone takes off. This clown is saying, no, the claim that Earth has of Coriolis won't happen because the drone will keep up with Earth rotation. So that would imply that Earth rotation, 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, is capable of being kept up with by a drone. Cat, got your tongue?
And all the gases.
Do you know what the first law of thermodynamics is?
I do.
Your description of a drone taking off and increasing its velocity is a first law of thermodynamics violation.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not increasing its velocity.
What velocity? The velocity you assume Earth has when it's rotating and you're begging the question fallacy. That velocity. Hello?
What if you...
Sorry, maybe it's time for a question for me. Every time I've asked you a question so far, you've just parroted off a question for me.
That is what I'm saying, yes.
Oh, well, you've done really well. Give that man 3 Bitcoin.
What I'm saying, when a drone lifts off from a roundabout...
Yeah, we heard the first 6 times. Yeah, when it lifts off a roundabout, from your vantage point, sitting on the roundabout, you'll see it appear to drift. That's Coriolis deflection. You, on a non-inertial turning reference frame, watching something leave the non-inertial turning reference frame and enter the inertial reference frame, and appear to drift from your perspective. That's Coriolis deflection. Now, if Earth has that exact same effect as it's claimed to do, then a drone launches and will appear to drift as you turn beneath it on a turning Earth. That's simple. It doesn't happen.
If you launched a drone from a roundabout and the compensation mechanism didn't cause it to hover...
Sorry, compensation mechanism that's going to keep up with 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. You're yet to address that.
Continue to...
So are you going to address the fact that the compensation would have to be 1,000 miles an hour on the equator? You're going to address that? Hello? You fucking idiot. You're saying it's compensating for 1,000 miles an hour at the equator? That's complete nonsense. Drones can't keep up with 1,000 miles an hour of Earth rotation. Further to that, it's a first law of thermodynamics violation. It would increase its radial value as it went up in altitude on a sphere Earth, meaning it'd have to increase its energy with respect to the ground below it. That's a first law of thermodynamics violation.
When you walk from the front of...
Maybe just ignore every single word I've just said and start making a new example. I would. First law of thermodynamics violation. If you are on a sphere and you launch a drone, and as you have described, it keeps up with the rotation, it has an increased circumferential distance to travel as it goes up in elevation. So it would have to increase its velocity with respect to the ground to track with it. First law of thermodynamics violation. Third time.
Would that...
Maybe just stutter through me.
Would that have something to do...
Why are you asking me? I'm just telling you fact. You've just described a first law of thermodynamics violation. on your globe. Fact.
Perhaps we could say that that energy comes from the batteries running down.
Sorry, the energy that gives it 1,000 miles an hour capability at the equator and can violate the first law of thermodynamics by increasing beyond the speed of the 1,000 miles an hour at the equator beneath it as it goes up in elevation. No, that's a first law of thermodynamics violation, fourth time I've told you.
It's already doing 1,000 miles an hour because...
So no drift then? So we're not going to experience any Coriolis drift? So the ball that left Neil deGrasse Tyson's example was already doing 1,000 miles an hour if it was on the equator? So why is Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that Earth's rotating under footballs if they're already doing 1,000 miles an hour when they leave the ground? That makes Neil deGrasse Tyson's example wrong. He's saying they drift. Balls drift, Earth turn beneath them. You're saying it retains it. You're just an idiot, because that wouldn't give you Coriolis effect. So no Coriolis effect then.
The ball is changing location. The drone is not.
What's that got to do with you observing it drift? You keep detailing what the drone does when I've explained to you 6 times that Coriolis is observed from the ground as you turn beneath. It's you looking at something seem to drift from a roundabout.
I thought the drone was in the 747. That changed location.
This is all getting really nonsensical. Yeah, laugh it up. Hot air balloons don't deviate, and they don't have any mechanism to correct for the supposed deviation, right? So the hot air balloons out there, they're not drifting super fast as they would. So no Coriolis deviation. This talk about corrections on drones, it's so nonsensical. There's things out there floating in the air that don't correct. They just float. Okay?
Correct for what?
Do with it?
So the correction he's describing is a correction that will give him no effect. So the net difference between something going up, violating the first law of thermodynamics and retaining its angular momentum, according to this guy, in a linear fashion, nonsensical also, that would yield 0 effect then. You wouldn't see anything happening. So there's no proof we spin then. There's nothing to observe. There's nothing happening. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference if it wasn't turning at all, according to you. So there's no proof we spin. No Coriolis effect then, according to this guy.
I'm not saying that a drone hovering over the surface of the Earth proves a flat Earth or a round Earth.
No, it disproves that we've got Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour, though. Earth claims to have Coriolis deflection, and a fact that it can hover means we haven't. That would debunk the claim that we spin, because we'd see drift if there was a spin. That's the claim.
No, that's not how that works.
Oh, really? Neil deGrasse Tyson seems to think so. He described Earth turning underneath a football. Do you want to take it up with Tyson? Because he says otherwise. You're saying that's not how it works? So when Neil deGrasse Tyson described Earth turning under a football, that's not how it works? Take it up with Neil deGrasse Tyson then. So take it up with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who says that's exactly how it works.
In all cases, when we're talking about Coriolis effect, we talk about an object moving from one place to another.
No, we observe it from a non-inertial turning reference frame, seeming to do something it isn't.
Are you unaware of the globe's claim of Coriolis?
It's an optical
illusion.
illusion.
You're not aware of it?
It's an optical illusion. It's nothing to do with the trajectory and everything to do with the not actual trajectory. An illusion of a trajectory that doesn't actually occur. And it occurs because you're turning beneath stuff if you're observing Coriolis effect. That'd be you turning beneath things not attached to a roundabout and seeing them seem to curve. That would also be effect that we'd see on Earth if Earth was turning. And I would suggest that me pointing out it doesn't have on Earth would obviously require you talking straight through the middle of me. We don't see that effect on Earth. That would be us observing drift from the ground as things seem to drift as we turn beneath them. That doesn't happen.